My mother tied my womb. Episode 1, The Whisper in the Garden. The silence in Chief Mrs. Ngozi Okonkwo's sitting room was heavy enough to crush a man's spirit. Sunlight, expensive and sharp, cut through the bulletproof windows of her Lekki mansion, gleaming off the gold leaf edges of picture frames. Each frame held a trophy: her son, Emeka, in Harvard graduation robes, her son, Chukwudi, receiving a car key, and her daughter, Kayameka, in a wedding gown so white it looked like a surrender flag. Kayameka, now 28, sat on the edge of a 10 million Italian sofa, feeling like an imposter in her own skin. Her silk blouse was suffocating. Dr. Adeyemi called me. Again. Her mother's voice was calm, a sharp knife wrapped in velvet. She didn't look up from the ledger she was reviewing. 3 years, NWAM. 3 years and your husband's house is still empty of laughter. Of an air. Mama, Kayameka's voice was a threat. You nothing. Ngozi snapped the ledger shut. The sound was like a gunshot. Do you think Uche's family are fools? Do you think his mother, that she-goat from Port Harcourt, is not already planting poison in his ear? Send her away, find a woman who can give you fruit. Is that the song you want to hear? Tears, hot and shameful, pricked Kayameka's eyes. We are trying, Mama. The doctors say everything is fine with me. Maybe Uche should. You. Her mother shot to her feet, the heavy amber beads around her neck clacking like angry teeth. Have the evil ones stolen your sense? You will ask your husband, a man from a great family, to go and be checking his thing like a common schoolboy. Never. The fault is always the woman's. Always. Have I not sacrificed everything for you? Fed you the best, sent you to the best schools, sewed your womb with prayers and modern medicine, and yet you fail me. Kayameka flinched at the phrase, sewed your womb. It was an odd, strange thing her mother sometimes said. Mama, please. Please what? Go back to that house. Go and see Dr. Adeyemi tomorrow. He will do another test, another procedure. My money is ready. Your shame, I cannot bear it. Defeated, Kayameka stood. As she walked out, her eyes caught the largest portrait on the wall, her mother, young and fierce, standing beside her own late mother, Momankoli, a woman with eyes that held the deep, knowing shadows of the village. That night, in her cold, marble-filled bedroom in Ikoyi, Kayameka's husband, Uche, was a polite stranger. Your mother sent me 12 texts, he said, not looking up from his laptop. She has even quoted the Bible. Be fruitful and multiply. Uche, I am tired, Kayameka whispered, her hand resting on her flat stomach. My body is tired of being a battlefield. He finally looked at her, and for a fleeting second, she saw not annoyance, but a deep, shared sorrow. Then it vanished, masked by duty. Just do what she says, Nkem. Let them find the problem and fix it. A man needs a son. The problem. It was a ghost in her machine, a void where life should be. And the next day, in Dr. Adeyemi's sterile clinic, the ghost was given a name. Everything is perplexingly normal, Mrs. Nochukwu, Dr. Adeyemi said, his brow furrowed. But there is a slight anomaly. A very faint, thin line of scar tissue at the entrance of your womb. It's almost invisible, like something from long, long ago. Did you have a severe infection as a child? A surgery? A memory, fragmented and hot, flashed. She was 7. In her grandmother's village in Abia State. The smell of earth and herbs. A burning fever that made the world melt. Her mother's frantic voice. Her grandmother's calm, weathered hands. I had a fever, Kayameka stammered. I was very young. Perhaps that's it. Sometimes these things happen. But this tissue, it's almost like he trailed off, shaking his head. Never mind. We can try to correct it with a minor laser surgery. Kayameka left the clinic not with hope, but with a cold, sprouting seed of doubt. Scar tissue. Like a what? Driven by a fear deeper than the fear of barrenness, she did something she had never done before. She disobeyed her mother. Instead of going home, she drove for 5 hours, eastward, towards the memory of heat and earth. Episode 2, The Old Woman's Secret. The village of Umuanunu was a world away from Lagos. Here, the air was thick with the smell of wood smoke and flowering plants. Her grandmother's compound was smaller, older than she remembered. Mom Nkoli, now over 80, was sitting under the okwe tree, her eyes clouded but sharp. They cleared when she saw Kayameka. NNEM, the old woman breathed, her voice like dry leaves. The bird has flown back to the tree where its nest was broken. The words chilled Kayameka. She knelt, receiving her grandmother's blessing, the gnarled hands on her head feeling like a weight. Mama, I need to know about the fever, Kayameka blurted out as they sat in the dim hut. When I was small. The one that brought me here. Mama Nkoli's eyes grew distant. That fever, it was not ordinary. It came from the river. It was meant to take you. But you were strong. You fought. The doctors, they found something. In my womb. Scar tissue. The old woman was silent for a long time. The only sound was the crackle of the kerosene lamp. When she spoke, her voice was heavy with a secret. Your mother. Ngozi, she was always afraid. Afraid of the world, afraid of shame. When you survived the fever, she brought a white doctor. They gave you strong injections. But she was also afraid of you. Of me. You were too full of life. Too loud, too fast, climbing trees like a boy. She saw your future and she saw trouble. She believed the woman's spirit, if too wild, would attract only trouble, would bring shame. So, she also brought you to a dibia. Not a good one. A man who traded in fears. Kayameka's heart hammered against her ribs. What did the dibia do? Tears filled Mama Nkoli's milky eyes. He performed a ritual. A binding. He said it would tame your spirit, make you calm, make you a good, obedient woman who would attract a good husband. He used a needle and a thread from a cursed ogbono seed, and he tied your womb shut. Just a little. Not to destroy, but to bind. To keep the wildness in. The world tilted. The cold seed of doubt burst open, and a monstrous, twisting vine sprouted in Kayameka's chest. Tied my womb. The words her mother used. They were not a metaphor. He said when you found the right man, a prosperous man, the tie could be undone, Mama Nkoli wept. But your mother, she never went back. She was afraid of the dibia's power. She chose the safety of a quiet daughter over the gift of a grandmother. Kayameka stumbled out of the hut, vomiting into the bushes. The truth was a physical poison. Her own mother. Her own life, her marriage, her pain, all a deliberate design. A crime wrapped in lace and prayer. Episode 3, Confrontation at the Altar of Appearances. She drove back to Lagos in a storm of tears and fury. She confronted Uche first, the words stumbling out in a hysterical rush. Uche listened, his face moving from disbelief to dawning horror to rage, not at her, but at the grotesque betrayal. Your mother, she did what? She has been blaming you, tormenting you, for a lock she put on the door. Together, they went to her mother's house. It was no longer a place of duty, but a crime scene. Ngozi was hosting a meeting of her women's prayer group. The house was full of laughter, perfume, and the clinking of china. Mama. We need to talk. Now. Kayameka's voice cut through the chatter. It was a voice no one had ever heard, raw, unpolished, wild. Annoyed, Ngozi excused herself and led them to her study. Kayameka, can't you see I have important You tied my womb. The sentence hung in the air, ugly and absolute. Ngozi's face went ashen. Then it hardened into defensive marble. Who has been filling your head with this village nonsense? That useless grandmother of yours. It is true. Kayamika screamed, the years of pain cracking her open. You had a dibia bind me. You crippled me to make me quiet. You have watched me suffer for 3 years, blamed me, shamed me, while you held the key. The prayer group outside had gone silent, ears pressed to the door. I did what was best for you. Ngozi shouted back, her regal facade crumbling into desperate fury. You were a problem child. A storm. I saved you from yourself. I made you into this perfect woman who could catch a man like Uche. Look at you. You have everything because of me. Uche stepped forward, his calm more terrifying than any shout. You have given my wife a life sentence. You have stolen my children. You are not a mother. You are a warden. Get out. Ngozi shrieked, pointing a trembling finger. Get out of my house. You are cursed. Both of you. Episode 4, The Unbinding. Chaos ensued. The scandal ripped through Lagos high society like a wildfire. Uche's family, once whispering against Kayamika, now rallied behind her in furious solidarity. Ngozi became a pariah, a monster in designer clothing. But Kayamika didn't want vengeance. She wanted freedom. She went back to the village, this time with Uche by her side. Mom and Koli, filled with guilt, led them to a true wise woman, an old dibia who lived deep in the forest, a woman known for healing, not harming. The old woman, Agbola, listened to the story. She examined Kayamika with eyes that saw generations. She clicked her tongue. What was done is an abomination. A spirit cannot be caged without sickening the body. The tie is not just physical, it is spiritual. It has fed on your sorrow. She performed a ritual. Not with needles, but with songs, with ancient incantations that called to Kayamika's buried spirit, with herbs that smelled of forgiveness and release. She gave Kayamika a potent potion to drink, telling her it would melt the thread of hate. The next week, in a hospital in London, a surgeon performed a precise laser surgery. He found and removed the almost invisible filament of scar tissue. It's gone, he said. The pathway is clear. Episode 5, The New Dawn. 9 months later, in the same Ikoyi bedroom that once felt like a tomb, Kayamika's cries of pain were not of sorrow, but of life. Uche held her hand, his face wet with tears. And when the tiny, furious cries of their newborn son filled the room, the sound was the most beautiful noise Ida had ever heard. He was named Nyameko. My father has done a great thing. They did not send a picture to Nosy. Weeks later, on a bright Saturday morning, Kayamika stood before a small group of women in a community hall in Yoba. These were women she had met online, women carrying silent shames, infertility, abuse, forced marriages, depression. She held her son close, a living testament to her survival. My name is Kayamika, she began, her voice strong, clear, and finally, truly her own. And for most of my life, I lived in a prison that my own mother built. She literally tied my womb shut to control my spirit. She taught me that my worth was in my silence, in my perfection, in my ability to produce an heir. She took a deep breath, looking at the rapt, pained faces before her. But I am here to tell you that our wombs, our spirits, our lives, are our own. No one has the right to tie them, to shrink them, to use them for their own glory. The thread that binds us is not always physical. Sometimes it's words: you are too much, be humble, endure. We must find that thread, and we must cut it. As she spoke, her son cooed in her arms. Outside, the vibrant, chaotic, unstoppable life of Lagos carried on. And for the first time, Kayamika felt she was not apart from it, but a part of it, a woman, unbounded, finally free to be wild, to be loud, to be whole. Final scene. Int. Ngozi's mansion, day. Ngozi sits alone in her vast, silent sitting room. The portrait of her daughter stares back at her. The house is cold. The phone hasn't rung in weeks. On her iPad, a social media notification flashes. A tagged photo. Her finger hovers, then taps. It's a picture from the talk. Kayameka, radiant and powerful, holding her son, speaking into a microphone. The caption reads, "Breaking generational curses, one thread at a time. My story of unbinding." Ngozi stares at the face of her grandson, a boy she will never hold. The weight of her victory, of her perfect, controlled life, crashes down on her, emptier than any failure. A single, hot tear of perfect, utter regret traces a path through her powder-perfect makeup. She is alone with the masterpiece of her own design, the beautiful, empty palace.